Have you ever caught yourself thinking, if only I knew then what I know now? That quiet little whisper that comes in the early morning light or during those calm moments at the end of the day when life slows down and reflection sneaks in. Maybe you've thought about how you spent your time or how often you worried or all the things you put off because it just didn't feel like the right time. We all do it. We all look back, sometimes with pride, sometimes with a tinge of regret, but always with a deeper understanding that only age can offer. If I could go back to 60, with all the wisdom and clarity I have now, I wouldn't chase more things or spend my time trying to hold on to every youth-driven trend. I'd focus on something much more important: peace, joy, health, and connection. I'd live with a little more ease, love a little more openly, and stress a whole lot less. And the beautiful thing is, even if we can't go back in time, we can make those choices now. Because 60 isn't the beginning of the end. It's the start of one of the richest, most meaningful chapters of life. The truth is, your later years can be full of happiness, growth, and even transformation. Science is starting to catch up with what many of us have already begun to feel, that our mindset, our habits, and our relationships shape not only how long we live, but how deeply we enjoy each day. Harvard's 85-year-long study of adult development, for example, found that strong relationships and emotional well-being are more powerful predictors of healthy aging than wealth or even cholesterol levels. That says something. It says we still have so much power over how we live, no matter how many candles were on our last birthday cake. If I could return to 60, I'd wake up with a different kind of intention. I wouldn't be in a rush to fill my calendar. I'd start my day by noticing how my body feels, listening to what it needs, not ignoring the aches or brushing off the fatigue, but gently moving, stretching, and nourishing it like it's something worth caring for. Because it is. I am. You are. I'd also let go of the idea that I needed to earn rest or joy. I would stop treating happiness like a reward at the finish line and start weaving it into the small moments, sipping tea on the porch, calling a friend just to laugh, walking barefoot in the grass, reading something that stirs the soul, instead of just scrolling through endless noise. These are the things that breathe life into your days. Not the to-do list, not the errands, not the constant feeling of trying to stay productive. If I had the chance to go back, I'd slow down, but not in the way people fear when they hear the word aging. I mean, slowing down to savor life more fully. And while I'm on that thought, I'd also stop worrying so much about what people think. That's something we waste so much time on, especially in our earlier decades. The way we look, the decisions we make, what people might say if we take up a new hobby or dare to change. But aging has this secret gift, and if you unwrap it early enough, it changes everything. The gift of not caring about judgment. If I could go back to 60, I'd open that gift sooner. I'd dress how I want, laugh out loud in public, learn something completely new without worrying if I'd be good at it. I'd allow myself to be seen, not the polished version, just the real one. There's this idea that after 60, the best years are behind you. That's a myth. The truth is, the best years are the ones where you start living for you. Not for your job, not for your kids, not for the expectations of society. Just you. And that kind of living, that's where the magic is. And part of living for yourself means making peace with your past. If I could go back to 60, I wouldn't carry so much emotional baggage into the next phase of life. I'd take a moment to really sit with my regrets, not to dwell on them, but to understand them, learn from them, and then gently put them down. We all have things we wish we'd done differently. Maybe it was a strained relationship, or a missed opportunity, or a time when fear got in the way of something important. But dragging those moments behind you like a heavy suitcase only weighs down the journey ahead. I'd remind myself that forgiveness, both of others and of myself, is not about saying what happened was okay. It's about choosing freedom, emotional freedom. And that kind of freedom makes room for joy to move in. I would also spend more time taking care of my emotional health, not just my physical health. When we think about aging well, we often focus on exercise and diet. And don't get me wrong, those things matter. But what's happening in our minds and hearts shapes everything. I'd pay attention to how often I speak kindly to myself. I'd stop replaying negative thoughts like a broken record. I'd seek out laughter like medicine, because honestly, it is. I'd stop isolating during hard times, and instead reach out, even if it's just to say, I need to talk. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned is that connection keeps us alive in ways that vitamins and blood pressure pills can't. Not just physically alive, but spiritually, emotionally alive. If I could go back, I'd prioritize my relationships more. Not the surface level ones, but the deep ones. The people who really see me. I'd call friends just because. I'd invite someone over even if the house wasn't perfect. I'd let people into my world without feeling like I had to impress them. Because at the end of the day, nobody remembers how tidy your kitchen was. They remember how you made them feel, and how they made you feel too. And I'd make new connections, even at 60. Especially at 60. I wouldn't tell myself that it's too late to find new friends or fall in love again or discover a sense of belonging in a group or community. I'd push back against that lie that says we become invisible as we age. We don't. We become layered, complex, interesting, valuable. If you walk into a room with confidence and warmth at 60 or 70 or 80, people notice. If you show up curious and open-hearted, there are always new people to meet. Always. I'd also reframe how I saw my body. I wouldn't look at it as something that's breaking down or something to be fixed. I'd see it as a home, one that's carried me through decades of life, love, loss, laughter. I wouldn't chase the energy I had at 25. I'd work with the energy I have now. I'd move my body in a way that feels good, not punishing. I'd walk more, stretch more, dance a little in the living room without caring how I look doing it. I'd take care of myself not out of fear of aging, but out of love for all the years I still get to live. And you know, I'd stop seeing retirement as the finish line. If I could go back, I'd remind myself that retirement isn't about stopping. It's about shifting. It's about finally having the freedom to do what lights you up. That might mean volunteering, mentoring someone younger, learning a new language, planting a garden, or even starting a small business. Something that gives your days purpose. We were never meant to simply fade away after a certain age. We were meant to evolve. And evolving doesn't mean becoming someone completely new. It means becoming more of who you really are. If I could go back to 60, I'd strip away the roles I felt obligated to play and lean into the parts of me I may have neglected. I'd revisit the things that made me feel alive before life got too busy. Writing, painting, hiking, playing music, tinkering with old tools in the garage, or simply sitting with a cup of coffee and watching the morning unfold slowly. I'd treat those things as essential, not optional. Because the things that feed our soul are just as important as the things that keep our bodies going. I'd also be much more intentional with how I spend my time. Time becomes more precious as we get older, and yet it's easy to lose hours to things that don't really matter. Mindless television, endless scrolling, saying yes to things we don't actually want to do. If I could go back, I'd protect my time like the treasure it is. I'd fill it with what nourishes me, not what drains me. I'd take more quiet walks. I'd listen to more music. I'd have more unhurried conversations with the people I love. And I'd stop treating rest as laziness. There is strength in stillness, healing in silence, and wisdom that only arrives when we pause long enough to listen. Another thing I'd do differently is how I handle fear. So many dreams go unrealized, not because we aren't capable, but because we're afraid. Afraid of failure, afraid of looking foolish, afraid it's too late. But here's the truth. Courage doesn't have an age limit. If I could go back, I'd be braver. I'd try the thing that seemed out of reach. I'd write the book, take the class, join the choir, travel to that place I always dreamed of. Not because I was guaranteed success, but because I deserved the experience, the joy, the story. And I'd rethink what success even means. At 60 and beyond, success has nothing to do with titles or bank accounts. It has everything to do with how you feel when you wake up in the morning. Are you at peace? Are you excited for the day ahead? Do you feel connected, valued, purposeful? That's success. If I could go back, I'd measure my days not by how much I got done, but by how deeply I lived. I would also take my health more seriously, not from a place of panic, but from a place of respect. I'd be consistent with movement, not because I wanted to look younger, but because I wanted to feel strong and independent. I'd prioritize sleep like it was medicine. I'd learn about what foods support my body now, not the diet that worked 20 years ago. I'd ask questions, advocate for myself at the doctor's office, and make sure my mental health was just as much a priority as my physical well-being. According to the National Institute on Aging, regular exercise and a healthy diet can significantly reduce the risk of cognitive decline and chronic illness even into our 70s and 80s. That's empowering. It means that every choice still matters. And lastly, if I could go back to 60, I'd be more present. I'd stop multitasking through life. I'd give people my full attention. I'd savor my meals instead of rushing through them. I'd notice the way the sun comes through the window in the afternoon. I'd make eye contact more, hug longer, say I love you more freely. Because presence is what makes life feel rich, even in the simplest moments. And that richness, that deep sense of meaning, it doesn't come from chasing the next big thing. It comes from appreciating the life you already have. If I could go back to 60, I'd take more pictures, not of special events, but of ordinary days. The dinner table after a good meal, the book I'm reading, the shoes by the door after a long walk. I'd write down my thoughts in a journal, not for anyone else, but just to remember what it felt like to be me in that moment. I'd create a life that felt full, not just looked full. I'd also spend more time with younger people, not to keep up with them, but to pass something on. Wisdom doesn't get outdated. And when you're over 60, you carry decades of insight that can shape someone else's future in ways you might never even realize. I'd offer advice when asked, but more importantly, I'd listen. I'd listen to their hopes, their fears, their dreams, and in doing so, I'd stay connected to the pulse of life, the ever-changing rhythm of the world around me. One of the greatest secrets to a happy final chapter is realizing that it's not really about the final at all. It's just another chapter, one with its own joys, its own challenges, its own milestones. And it's one that deserves just as much intention, love, and passion as any other. If I could go back to 60, I'd stop waiting for a better time to live fully. I'd stop holding my breath, waiting for permission to enjoy what's right in front of me. I'd remind myself that now is always the right time to begin again. There's a quiet power in choosing joy every day. It doesn't mean you ignore the hard parts. It means you walk through them with grace, knowing that they don't define you. It means finding beauty even in a slower pace, meaning even in a simpler life. It means choosing to wake up and say, "Today I will live with intention. Today I will show up with love. Today I will be kind to myself." And if you're watching this and thinking, "It's too late for me," I want to gently tell you, it's not. It's never too late to change the way you live, the way you love, the way you see yourself. Whether you're 60, 70, 80, or beyond, there is still so much left. So much to give, so much to enjoy, so much to discover. The happiest people I've met in their later years aren't the ones who held on to their youth. They're the ones who leaned fully into who they are now. So start where you are, right here, right now. Pick one small thing that brings you joy and do it today. Call that friend. Make that recipe. Take that walk. Write that note. Your final chapter is not about slowing down. It's about waking up. To yourself. To your life. To the beauty that's been here all along, waiting for you to notice. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What would you do differently if you could go back to 60? Or if you're already there, what small change are you ready to make today? Let's talk about it. And if this message inspired you, please like the video and subscribe for more warm, practical guidance on aging well and living fully. Because here's to you, living your best life at any age. Here's to your beautiful, bold, joyful final chapter.